Hi, I'm Jaden with Adventure Pilot. In this quick tip, I'm showing you how iFlight EFB's visual approaches can be used to help you be a safer pilot. In iFlight EFB, a visual approach essentially lets you display your airport pattern entry onto the map. The main idea of this is to allow someone to plan ahead for the pattern the airport uses, the current winds, and give some extra situational awareness about how they need to enter the pattern and some stuff they might see. This is super helpful at airports that are harder to see and that blend in with the environment, or even at night with an airport without runway lights. To start, I'm going to create a short flight plan to an airport in my area. So I'll click Flight Plan, enter Flight Plan, and then I'll put in my departure point and the airport we're going to, which is Ardmore. And we can see my route on the map. The special thing at Ardmore that makes visual approaches so useful is at night, runway 17 is super hard to see because the lights are very dim and they're almost the same brightness as the taxiway lights. So you have taxiway alpha right next to it with more lights, and then the really bright lights on runway 13 are very confusing. Beyond that, up to the north, you've got some terrain that's super scary, and the airport is the only lights in the area. So the black hole effect makes it super disorienting and hard to understand your point of reference compared to the airport. So this is where visual approaches come in. To add these, open your flight plan, then select visual approach. It's going to allow you to choose the runway. And if you want to know what the best runway is for the winds that day, tap on the airport, and then boom, you see runway right there. So we see it's preferring 17 today. So I'm going to click back into the flight plan and select visual approaches and choose 17. Now it's going to pop up on the map with our flight route and then the loaded visual approach. To change the selected runway, use the arrows at the top. Then, to change the pattern entry, you can use the arrows just beneath that. The ones that you can choose from, obviously, are the straighten, the 45-degree entry, and crossing over the top of the runway to enter a 45. You can also switch between a left or right pattern for that runway. So here, obviously the best decision is for the left 45, which is what I'll choose. And once you have that selected, just click done. Now you can see it loaded onto the map. For the 45, it's going to have us enter directly at a midfield left downwind with a 1 mile distance. Our final distance will also be 1 mile from the airport after the turn. At the first waypoint of the pattern entry, you can also see the chosen pattern altitude. So I'm going to start a simulated flight to show you what this looks like from the air. All right, we're moving along here, and one of the first things that you'll see on the map is that green little circle over my route, which is indicating my top of descent point. So once we reach that, iFly is going to notify us, and then I'll start my descent to the pattern altitude. All right, so iFly just alerted us that it's time to descend at 500 feet per minute. So we'll go ahead and begin that once we reach that top of descent point. iFly also notifies us once we're nearing the Class D to remind us that we need to talk to them before we can enter. Now, iFly is also going to give me a turn timer to tell me when to turn to be on a good 45-degree entry. Of course, you could remove that waypoint and just fly straight to the midfield left downwind, but just because I have it put in, I'll go ahead and fly there and then continue on. That's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out. Our number is 214-585-0444, or send an email to support@adventurepilot.com. Thanks.